We are back with another interview with William Glazier of the legendary Grand Alliance Music, which, by the way, before we jump into where you're at right now, because it's beautiful. What a beautiful spot, dude. It's gorgeous.
Yes.
Before we jump into that, actually, let's see. So where are we at? Tell us where we're at right now.
Well, yeah, we can get all into it as time goes in. But yeah, I just thought I'd revisit my old stomping grounds here at Western Washington University. Shout out to my my alumni. I might go for a swim later. But yeah, this is the concert hall here at Western, and got permission to use and film here. So thank you to the folks that be. But yeah, this is one of the concert halls at the university where I went to school and where it all started from.
They just let you do it.
You know, part of the perks of being an alumni, you know, it's like, I know we joked around about having a baby grand last time, and what better way than a pipe organ in the back. And, you know, it's part of the whole meaning of progression and trying to one up ourselves, whether it's in music or business or just life itself. And so we try to, I try to always put that leg up and try to put one foot in front of the other and always try to outdo it, whether it's a little bit or a lot, and try to just do that. So yeah, here we are, and trying to outdo ourselves.
Dude, you know what I love about you, man? You always have, dude, I know, honestly, man, you always have such a cool, like, you're so like chill, but you have such a positive, like reinforced and positive kind of like spirited, you know, like like a philosophical aspect about you. But it's like, it's not like ultra deep. It's just like right there on the surface where you're like, yeah, man, like everything you just said, anyone could agree with 100,000%, dude. And I love that because you put that into Grand Alliance, dude. I went to the vault, grandalliance.com. I went to the discography, really, I guess it is.
Sure.
Dude, I mean, there's been so many releases at this point under what you're doing. Where do you pull all this stuff? How are you able to release this level of, because all the stuff is bomb, and how are you able to pull all this stuff together and actually release this stuff on such a regular, or seemingly a regular, I mean, it's been a little bit since I've been there, you know, but I was just like blown away. I was like, I mean, you could scroll on that page, dude. So how do you get all of it together? How are you releasing so much stuff of quality?
It's hard, you know, it's hard to send everything out there. Sometimes I'm not able to, you know, that's like the last piece of the pie almost, you know. We're almost just, you know, well, it's almost automated. It's on like a schedule, or it's on a calendar, and we do it months and months in advance. You know, we're booked right now, I think, until October or November of this year, for example.
Wow.
So if people are submitting, which they are, you know, I got to be forthright in that, and things like that. And so it's, you know, I try to ride that fine balance as with life, as with anything, right? Is to try to find that balance, but try not to get too philosophical, but you know,
that's just your natural state, dude. Flow with it, baby. I love it. So does it take a lot of time for you to go, where do people go to grandalliancemusic.com to submit stuff?
Yeah, there's a page on kind of like the last screen. I think it's a contact us or a submit page. And I think there's a few links on the SoundCloud and other ways, but that's the best way to do it, is to, I think there's a contact us or a submit.
Yeah, there's a submit
there. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's grandalliancemusic.com, and then you click the contact us, and then you could submit through there.
And we listen to everything, man. Like I'd be surprised. I surprised myself. You know, I think, gosh, we had a release today, you know, and, of course, that's why I was scrambling kind of getting here, but you know, just putting everything out there and publishing things. And that's a lot about what, you know, I think is interesting in what we do as well as the publishing, but is, you know, like listening to everything, because whether you have 30 followers or you're new or old, or you got 3,000 or 10,000, it's like we listen, and if there's something there, or sometimes not, it's something that is taken into consideration. You know, sometimes I'll hear something that is like, oh, okay. And then it's just like, well, let's keep the conversation open, or what else do you got? Or tell me more.
Mm.
Or, and all of a sudden they'll send out another track and it's like, well, that's kind of cool, you know? And all of a sudden I got something going here. Or, you know, maybe the first track isn't quite right. And all of a sudden it's just, you know, it's a conversational thing, and it becomes something. So it's very interesting. And you know what you may or may not realize works, it may. And so, yeah, I think I talked to some lady yesterday from Toronto, not to spill the you know, the beans or whatever, but yeah, it's like, I think we may take a chance on that. And it's just like, it surprised me, you know, she doesn't even have a Spotify set up, and it's just like, this lady, I can't stop. It's like, she's very talented, you know, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's crazy how you find that happens to me too, where someone will submit something and you're just like, oh my God, this is so good. And then it's like, you know, they only have like one, you know, two tracks on a SoundCloud page and no social
Yeah.
media, nothing. And you're just like, what? And you're so good. What are you doing? So when it comes to stuff like that, do you like kind of help that along, kind of school them a little bit, or coach them?
Yeah, I mean, there's only so much you can do. You know, I had that conversation too with a buddy of a buddy, you know, on a few releases ago. Never want to throw anyone under the bus, because it's more than just one person too. It's like, there's only so much we can do as a label, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's because I think no one really wants to hear from a company, or from a project manager, from that pitching promotionally perspective. You know, it's got to be this like symbiotic cohesion, where people are working in togetherness, where people are very much aggressive from all elements of it. You know, a good example is, we had a release in October, and there's this artist is still pushing and still making videos and still putting content out there, reels, and they're getting massive views, right? I think at the time they had 300 followers and not much, and now they're over 12,000, you know. And it's like, and every view's
Wow.
getting, and every reel's getting 60,000. I mean, because they're relentless at it, and they're tagging the IDs, and they're putting everything out the way that it should be properly done. And on the vice versa, there's some people who leave it all up to us. And in that regard, there's not much that can be done, because, again, when it comes from one perspective, and an audience only sees, you know, this company, yeah, that says, listen to this. I mean, you're only going to
Mm-hmm.
get a small audience member. It's not very genuine. It's not very
Or it doesn't feel that
humanistic.
way. Even if it is genuine,
Yeah,
it doesn't seem kind of, yeah, because it's coming from an organization rather than the person themselves. So
yeah,
the best advice there is like, you know, push your own social media, tag Grand Alliance, you know, or whoever you're working with in it, you know, but do your own post, because that's how you gain, because that works with what we do as well. It's the same situation where it's like, hey man, you know, some posts, you know, I'll invite, like, after when I post this interview, I'll post a clip from this interview, and I'll invite Grand Alliance to collaborate on the post for this post, right? So if you collaborate on the post that I'm posting for this interview, it's going to get like more views than it would if you didn't collaborate, because it's not just on our side, it's on both sides. So it's exactly like you said, it's about collaborating and everyone sort of being aggressive from all angles. But you also are talking about from a creative angle as well.
yeah, doing a lot of unique things, you know, and doing it in your own way. It's like, I've got lots of, like you say, how do I school people, or do I've got, definitely, I mean, it's almost inundating, you know. There's tons of information, and I think that's where I probably lose lots of people, because, you know, I try not to overdo it, but there's emails, maybe 5 or 6 emails that go out throughout the process, where it's like, hey, here's an idea sheet where you can, you know, there's a list of 20 ideas where you can do a behind the scenes studio clip, where you can go out and be silly, and or you can do an interview, or you can do, I mean, there's so many little things. And
Mhm.
some people choose because it is voluntary, but it's very much strongly recommended, where you can get a lot of engagement, or you can basically do nothing. And those that choose to do nothing, you can see where their songs go. I mean,
Right.
500, right? And the other ones that do, they're pushing, you know, 2, 5, 10, 12,000 play. I mean, they're completely different, and you're getting enormous reach. It's great, even we can see it on our own. But yes, there's only so much we can do, and even in our own stuff, because again, it's a balance, right? I mean, even I have got family, I've got jobs, I get it, but
Hmm.
there's only so much we can do, and I completely understand. That's why I never try to get too, you know, whatever. I never try to hold it over anyone too much, but again, you've got to have kind of some baseline where you've got to do a little bit of minimal stuff there to help the project along, and we'll push it with you, but we've got to have something to push.
Yeah, exactly. You have to have the platform to go off of, you know what I mean? Like you're already doing so much, releasing the song, putting it out there, doing your newsletters and, posting your posts. But if they put the same, even like you just said, like even minimal, just do something to kind of give a little bit of notification, then it's a lot that gives you something to chew on. You can actually work off of that as a label.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, we'll see it quadruple. I mean, even or go over 5 to 10 times in size when you see that
yeah.
reach go. Even just by accepting those collabs or invites or tags, and it's incredible to see that.
Yeah, it's amazing. So, what about Wildebeest? I know that you involve not just Wildebeest, but you also involve yourself in several different projects and stuff. Have you been recording or doing anything new for Wildebeest or anything else projects you're collaborating with right now musically?
Yeah, just got off the road on a little
Really
tour. Yeah, we just did a little tour through a few states, and that was really great. And
nice.
we've been singling out lots of singles from our upcoming album. So we've been trying to do this little unique approach where it's almost like a compilation where we're coming out with a track and a track and a track and a track, and then in June we're going to come out with every track again on a full length album. As our last few albums have been kind of somewhat just ourselves. I mean, there's some collabs here and there, but it's been a
Mm.
little bit more of our own productions, and so this one's going to be an entirely collaborative experience. So it's called like Wildebeest and Friends. It's something we've been teasing for a long time, but yeah, our last few songs and singles have been that, and so we've just been continually chunking them out. Our last one came out a couple weeks ago while we were on the tour, and it's this fun talk about content like medieval songs. So we've just been dressed up in chainmail and just been doing ridiculous content, which has a great reach. And you know,
You get
although we
creative
lost our,
with it, man. Yeah.
yeah, we couldn't fly with the heavy. It's very heavy chainmail. We lost our capes on the road, but no, it's fun. But we had a couple great videos out there with the Spemic from Australia, and we got a bunch of other ones coming out too. We have like a chill song with Musai, who's on like Sasquan and Wakan. We got some great ones with Lucid Slip, who just got off tour with LS Dream and Closey. We got so many great songs coming, and then the whole thing will come back out in June. But beyond that, we got a tons of other great stuff coming out on the label too. So yeah, I mean, but I'm always writing. Yeah, we got Chill the Beast, which constantly makes music too. I've got another project now called Soma Drift, which is like no drums, no anything. It's like drone. It's just like meditative stuff. So I'm
Cool.
constantly, it's just like an outlet where I can't stop ever. I feel bad for ignoring my family. I'm joking. It's a balance, again, it's just a balance. I try to my very best to give everything I can to everybody all around me.
You're
My
only
family.
one person. You're only
Yeah.
one person. You got to remember that, dude. And
Yeah.
as someone that runs business is also like I feel you, man. And that's what I wanted to kind of get into with you. That's why I asked you that question, because for someone like yourself, because you do, this is your label basically, right? So it's like,
Mhm.
You do so much when it comes down to the label. There's a lot of work that goes into it. You know what I mean? A lot of work goes into doing what you're doing. And the thing I was wondering in the back, and I'm thinking about this as you're talking, right? And I'm like, yeah, there is a lot of work that goes into, but it's a lot of love and love for the creative process. And so my question in the back of my head the whole time was like, well, is he finding time to create, to produce, to make music while he's doing all this? And so you answered that. You do. You found a balance. I think that's important, man. You got to have, because you got to remember where this all started, which I would love to actually get into just for a short bit. If I know you're a little kind of limited with time, but so this is where you went to school. So, how long did you go here? Where did it grow? What happened? What clicked in this place you know?
Well, yeah, I moved out here. I got my BA from here, you know, my bachelor's in arts and science, and graduated with like a business and music degree here at Western Washington University. Shout out and thanks for letting me have this space again. What a great spot.
Amazing.
And graduated in 2014, so almost over a decade ago. And it really took off from there. But before that, I was in. It's crazy because I keep seeing these. I feel aged at this point, but it's an honor. I'm turning 40 this month, but next week. But
Happy birthday!
Thank you. But I started in Buffalo, New York. I'm taking my son back this summer to see it all, and I was in a ska punk band on the Warped Tour. And we got signed. And that's where I really cut my teeth. And I played, in my high school bands. I just saw my niece play in her 7th grade band. I gave her my first trumpet, and I was just like transported back there too. Like just a couple days ago, I was like, whoa, And I remember just going through it all. But I met my bandmate on Napster, again, aging myself, and he became a very famous person. He still performs to this day. He's actually touring around the country right now. And his name's Michael Angelakis of Passion Pit, and he's selling out arenas. And if you look him up, he's got millions of followers. And he was our very first singer. And when we became in high school, because this was a middle school band, we put out a few albums, and I played trumpet and this and that. He quit, but essentially we kept playing. So I recruited another singer and guitar player to fill his void, and we kept going and put out another few albums, and we were called Cherry Bing. You could look it all up online. I published our music recently, again, with permission from the other big mates. And then we recorded with the Goo Goo Dolls, because they were from Buffalo. It's a bass player, Robbie Takic from the Goos. And we got signed to Drive Through Records, which at the time, in the early 2000s was like Newfound Glory and RX Bandits and all these really cool punk and ska bands.
I remember Drive Through Records very well. Yeah.
Absolutely. And at the last second, because all this information, it's so funny, is coming out online over this 20-year reunion. And they always forget this part of the story because we were kind of just an afterthought. But he said on the way out the door, he said, hey, my most famous band, or my favorite band rather, is RX Bandits, but they make the least amount of money because they have horns. And so that was the last time I saw our singer and guitar player who I recruited, Shant, and Jeff Zum, who became Cute Is What We Aim For. The next month, I saw him on MTV. I saw him on arena tours as opening for Fall Out Boy, as Cute Is What We Aim For. And so we got screwed over, and I couldn't handle it anymore. So I moved out here, and I attended college. And as soon as I graduated, I went on tour with Michael Menert. I started my band Snug Harbor, and he hired us as his band, and we went and played Red Rocks and toured the country for years and years. Michael Menert's from Pretty Lights, and we were his band for years and years and years. And so we've still been playing. And through that process, I started Wildebeest on the road and learned, more and more how to produce. But I studied, the ins and outs of the business and recording and everything, and got my footing here. And then really got my everything, on the road there. And so it was pretty interesting. They've since went like that, but it was pretty interesting, that whole scenario. But then we went on the road with Michael Menert from Pretty Lights. We were his band for several years, from about 2014 to 2018, 2019, and then kept going with Wildebeest. And a couple years ago, I started the label to try to support others and pass along the information that I've learned.
It's beautiful, dude. I mean, like, if it sounds kind of almost like, first of all, a lot of that is a lot of the bands you mentioned are very familiar to me because I grew up in that time. I'm 45, so I grew up in that. I'm in that pocket of that, the Drive Through Records pocket, when they used to release. Remember they used to release like the compilations, the Drive Through Record compilations and stuff.
Absolutely.
When I was young, and don't even start me on Napster, forget it, dude. But I remember that very well. That was like one of my go-tos. Sure. You'd find a band in like a magazine, or you hear like one track. When I was younger in LA, you'd hear a song on like the indie radio station, right? And you'd be like, "Oh, who was that?" And then the guy would mention the name, and you can jump on the LimeWire and try and find it, or Napster, LimeWire, Napster, LimeWire, and there was another one, I forget the name. But so I'm in that pocket. I know exactly what you're talking about. But I think it's really cool, your story, just because of where you're at now. and the kind of stuff that you're doing now, and not just with the label, but the stuff that you're making, you're still doing, you're still following your passion. You know what I mean? You just got off a small tour. You started getting more into, so I feel like from what you were telling me, maybe like 2019, 2020, maybe COVID played a little bit of a hand of like, okay, well, now I'm going to just focus on producing or starting Grand Alliance. Is that kind of how it worked, or?
Yeah, for sure. There was definitely a lull there. I mean, there was a natural kind of lull anyway when I think Michael figured out it wasn't as lucrative to him too. At first, he hired my entire band, which is a funk and soul band. It was like an 8-piece band, which I was like, cool. And then we showed up to Denver, and there was like 15 other musicians. It was like a 22-piece, like.
Holy
and I was
shit.
like, yeah. And then so I was like, Jesus. And then eventually we pared down to like 7 or 8 of us, and even still, I think it took a lot out of his. So eventually, I think he back and reformed with Derek to get back into Pretty Lights, but eventually, I think it wasn't able to happen for him, so we just had to naturally kind of wean off that. But then yeah, I mean, that again, and balancing life and work and everything, I started releasing more and more, probably not trying to sound any which way, but hopefully, which is such as life, and leveling up, quality music, right? And so once I started making more better music, I was able to submit to other labels. And once I learned how those labels worked, and maybe not copy pasted them, but once I learned how these processes worked or didn't work, and what I liked, I was able to kind of like make these templates of how I could help others, maybe, that I felt because I always had that in my head, whether it was ska or punk or rock or whatever. And so once I liked that little I love the curation stuff. I always makes, a little mixtape for my girlfriends and stuff. No, my wife. And love you, babe. And shout out Dion. And so but I always loved, showing people music. And so it's almost like a big, yeah, it's a fulfillment for me too. And so when I get to like handpick these things and then pass along that information and really see what works, it's kind of like a win-win for me too. And yes, so COVID, when everything slows down, naturally, it definitely allowed for that to help, settle in and happen a lot better, and time off from work and things like that. But it does. It definitely sucks at times, because you can't always have, just, okay, great, I got a day off, I'm going to get in the studio and jam, or just spend hours on. No, even this morning, it's like I would have loved to just work on a tune, but nope, I got to release, I got to go fix the links, I got to go update the websites, I got to go send out some blasters, I got to go talk to the artists, I got to go. I mean, it's like a lot of times it's chaos, and there's just check. And so you got to have the right kind of systems around you to really help flourish too.
You built them. You built those systems, but like you said, you weren't copy and pasting, but you were learning from those situations and those scenarios and how they worked, what didn't work for them, what did work for them, and what worked. You figured out what works for you, and what worked for you and what didn't work for you as well. And so what you did was you came up from the creative, right? And but then you learned the business side of it too, not just in school, but afterwards as well. And so finally with Grand Alliance, I think Grand Alliance is like, it's like your baby, you know what I mean? It's like you finally were able to put together the business, the music and the business, and create something whole with them that is a fully functional thing. And you achieved your goal of being able to help people. I mean, yeah, it's, business takes away from the creative sometimes. You would have loved to wake up and make a track. Yeah, dude, of course. But, you got to focus on, the people that you're helping, and that's because you believe in the music. Would you say that when it comes to, limitations in terms of, do you look, I mean, you already said you're booked through like October or something. So, how far ahead do you look? Do you say to yourself, okay, well, I can't, did you turn the submissions off at any point? Like, all right, well, I already have this planned out. When you say you're booked through October, that means you have releases set through October, right?
Yeah. They're in distribution right now. Yep.
Do you turn that off at a certain point and go, I need to shut down for a month, or I need to stop taking submissions for a month, or I need to stop planning releases for a month? Or is there ever a shut off valve for you to take a breather? Or
There could be very soon. There might be, you know. But right now, I like to entertain the idea because if something is, because I feel like there's going to be a loss, or maybe that the idea that I'm missing out on something. You know, there's always that fear of the
Mhm.
unknown,
Yeah, fear of missing out.
where,
Yeah.
you know, but I think for the most part, I think that just takes a lot of fine tuning and that keyword of balance, where it's like, if I know that I can have that open communication, where again, that woman from Toronto, it's like, I still don't know what's going to happen with that, but it's like, hey, what's your expectations? Maybe that's another email and questionnaire that I'll have her fill out. What do you see this project doing? What's your schedule like? You know, it's definitely this open-ended back and forth, where it's like, maybe it doesn't work for her, maybe she needs it out next month, and that's an instant cut off right there. So it's more than just our needs too. You know, like, again, you asked me about what's up with Wildebeest. Well, we've been sitting on this music for a year and a half, so I know what can be done and what's possible, and what, you know, it's like, I'm here for the long run and the long play. It's not just about, you know, you know,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
more, it's more than just that, and it should be, because proper releases take proper planning. It might seem like we got songs coming out all the time and every 2 to 3 weeks, which we do, but it's very meticulous planning, and it takes very much well organized scheduling for that to happen. And so I think
Like
so,
you got to
you
start
know.
a month or two in advance or something, right? Like the release that came out this morning, you said. Like, go ahead. Go ahead.
It had been done since, yeah, December, you know, 6 to 8 weeks minimum, all assets secured, artwork, which we made, you know,
Yes.
links, bios, intake forms, publishing done. I mean, everything, man. It's got to be done. And then, only then, can we consider that to be a starting point.
Wow. See, that just gives people, you know, and last time we touched on this as well, because I know there's other people out there that are, you know, wondering about it, you know, not just be like, you know, can I start a label? What does it take to, you know, what does it really take to be, you know, and you're giving some of the insight on questions like that, because it's a lot more work than people think, and it's a lot more planning, and you have to have a lot more. It's a business. That's the thing, you know. It's
We have
for the love of creativity, but it's a business.
we have a registered, you know, LLC. We file our taxes. We've got a lot going on, and I think it's not to deter anyone, but when you see people, because you should always try that. But for us, we started the label to almost go against that grain. You know, when you see these half-assed people or labels or whatever you want to call it, not to slight any of them, because a lot of people just try, and thank you for trying, because, you know, there's so much slop and garbage AI, or whatever you want to call that stuff,
Mm.
coming out these days. We need people out there pushing the good stuff and fighting the good fight. But when people are just half-assing it, it doesn't help, because that's what we also learned along the way. When you wade through it and you can toss out some of this stuff, and it's like, I don't like that. That's not working. I don't want to do it that way. And you can gather the stuff that does work.
Mm.
Well, all of a sudden you're seeing things that do work, or the way that they should be done, right? Like, I read this statistic the other day, because we're not just a label, you know, and when people, like my friends, come up to me and ask questions because they can't even figure out, you know, SoundCloud monetization, and that's like a sliver of what a label should be doing for their artists. I mean, a
Yeah.
small portion of it. It's like that's just a tiny tab, you know. It's a 1/100th of what we're doing is monetizing things, right? Like, you know, we're distribution, we're publishing, we're press, but again, that's only half of it, because the artists need to help too. But publishing is huge, man, right? And when I talk
Yeah.
to people about publishing, I get this, 99 or 95% of the time, and people don't have representation on publishing, or
Like,
ASCAP or BMI numbers,
yeah.
because it's part of the forms that they fill out back to us as an intake form. It says, give me your BMI number, because we have a dual license, ASCAP and BMI, Grand
Mhm.
Jams Alliance and Grand Allies. It's our two publishing companies. When we publish your music, because we're your label, your distributor, and your publishing company, when we publish this for you, we need to attribute it to you. And if not, it's just going to the house, which is fine too. because we're your collection people too, but people can double down on that. People don't realize what publishing is. When it's not just, because there's distribution, right? And when you distribute your songs, it goes to DSPs, digital streaming platforms, right? It's YouTube, it's Spotify, it's Apple, it's all this portion of it, right? But there's another portion of music that is completely being unaccounted for, and that is publishing. It's BMI and it's ASCAP. Anytime that your song gets played on the radio, and most importantly, when it gets played out in public, it's being unaccounted for. And I read a stat recently. It's something like, I'm probably being misquoted here, but 20 to 50% of people of artists don't claim their royalties on that back end of publishing, which is like $1 billion. $1 billion. And so what we do is, I've been doing this for the last couple of years. People don't, first of all, remember what I said, they don't have a BMI number to send me. And secondly, once I talk to them about this, hey, are you publishing your sets? They say, what is that? I said, well, you log into BMI and you go up to the left corner and you say live sets, and you publish the songs that we have put in there for you. And you say, I played this set at this venue because the venue pays
this day, and
they pay a BMI publishing fee, the $1 billion, and you publish your songs. And at the end of the year or each quarter, you get paid on that $1 billion that is not being accounted for. And we've been doing that recently and getting a good chunk of change. And it's like, it's lost revenue that people are completely unaccounted for. And so it's just mind-boggling to me that publishing is out the window for most people, but that's a lot of what we focus on as well. But again, there's only so much you can do. You can't force people to do this stuff. But artist development's huge, social stuff is huge, publishing is huge, distribution is huge. We do a lot of our own in-house artwork and videos, and so there's a lot that we have our hands on.
Dude, what you just did too was really important, and that's something I actually used to teach people all the time, what you just went into. The BMI, the ASCAP, or SOCAN if you're in Canada, the writer side and the publisher side, the differences between the two and what you can collect on. You're the first person you're the first other person other than myself that I've ever even heard bring up BMI Live or ASCAP on stage before. You definitely have your shit down, dude. Like, you have your shit down. You see, this is what I'm talking about. Like, what you're doing right now, that's helping people. Like, doing what you're doing is helping people. You're helping people understand, because I get that it's you're doing this for the love of making the music, but the same people that do it for the love of making music want to make a buck off of it too. That's part of the dream, right? But you're right. So many people have no idea. I used to say the same thing. Are you with BMI? Are you with ASCAP? They'd be like, who? Well, and I used to teach them the same shit, dude. BMI Live, ASCAP on stage, it's like, and they'd be like, whoa, really? Yeah, dude, you can do that. You can collect all that stuff. And the other one, the digital one, I forget the name of it right now. But people need people like you. Those artists need people like you. Producers, songwriters, and artists need people like you to be able to teach them, like, how they can, someone's going to watch this and learn something from it. You know what I'm saying? Just from the spiel you just did, straight up. And people need to learn that, because that's the piece of the puzzle they're missing. What you're talking about right now is all the business side of, not even just a label, but being an artist. On what you're talking about on the artist side, while you're doing the publishing, they could be collecting the same amount on the writer side of their.
Well, it's 50-50, right? Yeah, or whatever your agreement is. I think it has to be 50-50 when you're publishing it, but it's like, unless you're self-publishing, but absolutely. So it's like 50 goes to the house and 50 goes to, so every time I even claim it, I can't, as a label, do the performance side of it. But if the writer, I mean, if you're a DJ, if you're a band, if anything, every time, even if it's a small club or whatever, go back in 3 months in advance or back-ended and redo your shows, and you're going to get paid on that, because it's just free money that floats out there that they don't have. That $1 billion or whatever it is, the 20 to 50% of unclaimed money, they need it to go somewhere. So absolutely, when every quarter I'm getting checks for X amount, I don't know how much I should be sharing there, but it's monthly. But that's where it comes from. Who cares about the $30 a month in SoundCloud? Who cares about the $100 a month in distro? Because it's nickels and pennies that Spotify is undercharging and taking advantage of. Yes, we want our music to be accessible, but when people complain, that's where your money is.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's a big thing too, Spotify. And that's a whole nother spiel. The point is, I'm glad that you've been doing that for the past couple of years, is helping people understand publishing and royalties and things like that, because a lot of people don't have that kind of, and that when it comes to where you, out of the group of things that you just mentioned as part of how your label functions, that 100% falls under artist development. 100% falls under artist development. And from what my experience, and I've been doing this 24 years, I'm sorry, no, not 24 years, 21 years, is, a lot of the labels don't do any of that shit. A lot of these indie labels and things like that, they don't dip into artist development. They don't do anything to really help promote. I mean, I get bands all the time that they want to get reviews, because their label didn't do anything with it. They didn't promote, they didn't, and so what you're doing is you're really helping people, you're putting everything under one roof. I think that's really beneficial, honestly.
It's sad. I mean, that's why I've been so busy all the time. And I got spreadsheets upon spreadsheets upon spreadsheets. I got an email this morning for 9 more that went through from BMI, and I'm copy and pasting the works numbers over into it. And I got ticker boxes, and I mean, I feel bad sometimes that I'm losing touch with people, but it's like I've got so much, catalogs and information. But now that those are in there, now I can go back in and register live sets. Or, we talk about that symbiotic relationship. Well, now I can, as a performer, because I did, on our last tour, pull from some of these places like, ooh, I like that song, I'm going to throw it in my DJ set, or I'm going to collab with this and play some horn over it live. And all of a sudden I'm getting, I'm able to register some more back end catalog from our label too, and double pay, because I'm paying these artists and myself and this and that. And it's like, it's all just kind of universal stuff. So yeah, no, and that's another joy about the label too, is we get to, be kind of more directly influenced in that too. So I may not be creating as much, but I'm also able to almost collaborate a little bit more too. So
yeah, it's great, dude. You're definitely doing it right, man. Grand Alliance. So, but I know you're short on time. Before we go, I was going to just ask, and I don't know if you can answer the question. I know that you've been doing a lot. I know you're booked through October. Where do you see Grand Alliance in the future? What's like the end, if there is an end game, or where do you see Grand Alliance growing into? What do you want it to be? Is it there now?
Time. I got another 15 or 20 minutes, or whatever you need to. But that's a great question.
What's your vision? If you haven't reached it already, because it seems like you have, but just out of curiosity, if where do you see it where do you see Grand Alliance in a year from now?
I like to see things, organically developing and transpiring. But so it's been really interesting, and to see where it's already been. Like you say, it's reached. It's an honor and a pleasure to have, you talk to myself from those 20 or 30 years ago, and if I could have a conversation with my young self from Cherry Bang, or from my younger days as a teenager, I wouldn't have believed you if I could have listened and known that I could tour the country and run a record label and accomplish all the dreams that I already have been doing. And so it has already, I've been very much accomplished, and a lot of those things that have peaked. But for a lot of it, I let it run
naturally,
organically, and do its thing, right, and see where it can go. Because I think that if I put too much, stock into it, I can start to like let it consume itself almost, and become something that is a little unhealthy, and become something that I know that I care almost too much about. Like, I've let a lot of aspects in my life almost eat itself, or cannibalize that way, where, I can put too much pressure on things, and it doesn't come out like a diamond, it it just combusts. So I like to give, and then let go and soak back and see what comes. So there's a lot of give and take in that kind of stuff, especially with working with so many people. But in a year from now, if anything, maybe even slowing down and becoming a little more selective and things like that. I've been pushing so hard for so long that it would be nice to become a little bit more selective. And
Mm.
but then there's that fear that I, irrational fear that people may lose interest. But that's just me and stuff like that. But I think that eventually maybe curating some more live shows. We've done a couple, or things like that, but that comes with some serious investment and loss opportunities as well, or getting on some stages at some festivals eventually, maybe teaming up with even some other labels that have already becoming reaching out and stuff like that.
Nice.
Just somehow becoming even more bigger entity, and somehow being able to team up like something like that would
Yeah.
be smart.
Yeah, I think that would be really cool for you guys. I think that what you've been doing with Grand Alliance has been pretty amazing. We've been working with you guys for a long time. You guys always drop bomb ass. Oh, we just hooked up with Buttons too.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
Yeah, a couple of days ago, he reached out. He's like, "Hey, man." So and we know him through Grand Alliance, obviously. So it's such a cool
Yeah.
thing to you guys, you what you're doing is kind of powerful. You know what I mean? And I get what you're saying. Like, you can't. I completely understand, especially from a kind of a passion project standpoint and a business standpoint of how if it can consume itself. Like, I totally understand where you're coming from with that. But I think what you've been doing, I think the kind of going with the flow aspect, and all the different things that you've been doing to make this label actually function, is brilliant. And I think a lot of people are going to learn from watching this, because it's something that, people just, even some of the things that you went into are things that people don't know enough about, like you mentioned. And in my personal opinion, if a label is working with someone and they care, if they care, they're going to go into things like that with them, and they're going to work even a little bit, even if it's just a conversation about those kinds of things, like publishing, for example, not just for the label's sake, like you said, for the artist's sake. If you care, you're going to at least bring it up in conversation. Like you said, you can't say, hey, you have to go sign up with it. You can't force them to do that. You know what I mean? You can only say, okay, look, this is what you should be doing, because you're missing out on this by not doing that. Right. And so you're taking those steps to be able to kind of, and that's what I mentioned before, or earlier on, when I said, what do you do with someone? Do you coach them? Do you kind of school them? You do. Absolutely do, dude. And that's what good labels should be doing. So you're doing great stuff. So the new one, all right. So like I said before, I went to the vault. I'm gonna go pull the vault up. I was like blown away. I was like, oh my god, dude. I went to the vault. I mean, it's not a shocker, I know, because I know you.
And just to follow up, it's not just about giving that information or taking that first step, or just like signing up for a publishing or BMI company. It's then, once you get your number, to go in and then do the next step too. Or it's not just like making a video, it's like publishing the video and making the story and putting the links on there too. It's not just like putting that first step out there. It's like actually doing it. Yeah, it's like don't just half-ass it. Again, not that I'm saying anything. It's like, do it. Either do it or don't do it. And if you don't want to do it, you're already not doing it. You know what I mean? You're already that. So if you want to work with a label that's trying to push you and work alongside with productive people,
then
leveling up, right? Then let's do it. Let's do it together, right? Don't just sign up for BMI and have a freaking number. Sign up for BMI, have the number, register your sets, get half your money that's unclaimed. If you're gonna make a video, make it good, send it over. Let's collaborate on it. Let's make something special. Let's make people see it. Let's promote it. Let's get the music out there. Let's put the audio to the music. Let's connect all the pieces together. It's more than just like, this little thing. It's an actual vision that can come together. It's something that is tangible and it makes sense.
Beautiful. That was perfect. I mean, that was perfect, dude. So, all right. Well, first of all, thank you again for doing this again with us. This is awesome.
Yeah.
So is Stain of Earth Hearing Voices? Is that the new
That
drop?
one, That one came out today. That was a remix from a contest that we held back in October, and then the winner was picked in December, and then we've been linking that one up. Yeah, we did the artwork. We've been doing a lot of artwork lately, from like a lot pictures and things like that. My mom's been taking pictures, and some people in town have been taking pictures, and I've been doing a lot of artwork. But that one came out today. Yep. And then I think there's a couple other ones. Yeah, I think we've had. Yeah, you can scroll through there or look at our Spotify.
It's like endless. It's endless. I mean, the Spotify is cool. I like the Spotify too, but I like going to grandalliancemusic.com because I don't know, it's set up a little nicer than Spotify, and you can see all the visuals in rows, and there's also a great description and stuff below them. So I like doing it that way better.
Yeah, I love Grant. I mean, thank you, because I mean, I designed the website too. You know, the vault is great. Releases is a one without the story, so it's kind of just a double down. There's a merch page there. You can go to our SoundCloud. There's some free downloads there if you want to just jump right into, if you're a newbie or you just want some free access. The Bandcamp's a great one too. But yeah, I think there's over 120 releases in the last couple of years. So.
Ooh. Damn, grandalliancemusic.com, dude. Yeah, I like the vault. I love the descriptions. I think it works perfect.
Thanks.
It gives you more, you know, but that's me. I'm, you know, writer.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you know, definitely check out grandalliancemusic.com. Obviously more to come. William, thank you again so much for doing this again, dude. We love you over here, man. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
You know, yeah, of course. And,